Okay, so when you think of a data center, what comes to mind? Probably these huge windowless buildings, right? Well, forget all that for a second. What if you could pack all that computing power into a single box? A box you can put on a truck and drop, well, pretty much anywhere. That's the wild idea we're going to deconstruct today.
Right, so that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How on earth do you take something as complex and, frankly, as massive as a data center and make it mobile, make it flexible? Well, believe it or not, the answer might actually start with something incredibly simple, like a sketch someone doodled.
And this is it. This is the sketch. It's basically the blueprint for everything we're about to talk about. You can almost feel that back-of-the-napkin vibe, can't you? But inside this simple drawing is a really revolutionary idea for what data infrastructure could be. So, let's do this. Let's break it down piece by piece.
All right, first things first. Let's start with the biggest, most ambitious part of this whole vision, the big picture. You know, what happens when you need just a ton of computing power, but you still need it to be flexible? Well, according to this sketch, you build a data center parking lot. Yep, you heard me right. The whole idea is you take a bunch of these mobile units, line them up in a grid, and bam, you've got yourself a massive on-premises data center. And the best part? You can scale it up or down just by adding more trucks or driving a few away. It's modularity on a huge scale.
So how do all these separate boxes talk to each other? That's the key, right? And what's super interesting here is the two-pronged approach. The sketch shows them all physically connected with a network fiber grid. That's for the really heavy-duty, high-speed stuff. But they're also using Wi-Fi to communicate wirelessly. So it's this kind of hybrid system that turns all these individual units into one giant, interconnected brain.
Okay, so we've seen the giant parking lot. Now let's zoom way, way in. Let's look at the fundamental building block that makes this entire concept work, that single mobile unit.
And there it is, the truck-mounted CDCU, which stands for Container Data Center Unit. This is the absolute heart of the whole idea. And let's be clear, this isn't just, some servers thrown in the back of a truck. This thing is designed from the ground up to be a complete, self-contained data node that just happens to be on wheels.
So, if we were to put a definition on it, what is a CDCU? Well, based on this sketch, it's a self-sustaining, mobile data processing and storage node. And those two words are everything, self-sustaining and mobile. It means it can take care of itself, and it can go pretty much anywhere a road goes.
Okay, so what's actually inside the box? What makes it tick? What turns a standard shipping container into a powerhouse? Luckily for us, the sketch gives us this amazing little cutaway view.
First up, you've got the skeleton. The drawing shows these container-mounted racks. This is the basic framework, the structure that's going to hold all the important stuff. And it has to be tough, right? It's got to keep everything secure, whether the truck is just sitting there or bouncing down the highway.
And then you've got the muscle. Slotted right into those racks are what the sketch calls rack-mounted PC clusters. You can think of these as the brains of the whole operation, just dense stacks of computers, all crammed in there to do the actual work, the processing, the storage, all of it.
But all those computers are just expensive paperweights without power, right? And this is where it gets really clever. The sketch shows these battery modules built right into the racks. So the power source is integrated, it's right there, providing all the juice needed to keep the lights on.
Okay, so we've got computers, we've got batteries, but the really crucial question is, how does this thing survive on its own? Out in the middle of nowhere. This is where that term self-sustaining comes back into play, and it's so important. It's all about creating this closed-loop system that can take care of itself.
And this loop is just brilliant. If you look closely at the truck diagram, it actually labels a wind turbine and an AC unit. So think about it. Step 1, it generates its own power. Step 2, it stores that power in the batteries. Step 3, it uses the power to run the computers. And Step 4, it uses a cooling system to get rid of all the heat those computers produce. It's a perfect little ecosystem, totally independent.
So when you boil it all down, you've basically got two incredible ways to use this thing. There's the on-premises mode, where it hooks into that giant parking lot grid we talked about, super scalable. But then there's the mobile node mode, where it's just one truck, totally on its own, ready to be deployed, fast, bringing serious computing power to places that are completely off the grid.
All right, let's zoom back out. We've seen the big picture, we've gone inside the box. So what does a system like this whole idea born from a simple sketch, what does it really mean for the future?
It really comes down to three key words, doesn't it? Flexible, mobile, and self-sustaining. It can grow or shrink as needed. It's not tied down to one spot. And it can operate all by itself. Those are some serious game changers.
So who cares? Why does this even matter? Well, just think about it for a second. Imagine rolling one of these into a disaster zone to help coordinate relief efforts, or setting up a temporary research station in the Arctic, or even just providing killer connectivity for a giant music festival out in the desert. The possibilities are kind of endless. It turns data from this static thing into a resource you can call on wherever and whenever you need it.
Which leaves us with one big final question, all sparked by this one little drawing. Is this what the future looks like? A future where data centers aren't these giant, immovable buildings, but instead are defined by their ability to move, to adapt, and to survive anywhere. Inside a box? It's a pretty wild thought.